The neon signs of New Terra's lower district flickered in the perpetual rain, casting purple and green reflections across oil-slicked streets. Danny Chen wiped grease from his hands with a rag that was probably dirtier than his hands, surveying the cramped repair shop that had been his entire world for the past 8 years. Chen's garage wasn't much, a converted warehouse with rusted corrugated walls, half-working equipment held together with duct tape and prayers, and a reputation for fixing things other mechanics wouldn't touch. Illegal mods, black market tech, ships with questionable histories. Danny didn't ask questions as long as the credits were good. At 32, he'd built a modest life from nothing. Orphaned at 15 when his parents died in a colony transport accident, he'd learned mechanics the hard way, by necessity, by failure, by pure stubborn refusal to give up. Now he could fix anything with an engine, from ancient combustion bikes to cutting-edge plasma drives, but he was lonely as hell. "Danny, you've got an incoming call," said Max, his shop's AI assistant, a bargain bin model he'd rebuilt from scraps, from someone who definitely can't afford your rates. Danny looked up from the hoverbike he was rewiring. "How do you know they can't afford it?" "Because they're calling from the Royal District, and they sound scared." That made Danny pause. The Royal District was where New Terra's elite lived. Politicians, corporate executives, and the alien dignitaries who'd made Earth's first interstellar colony their home. People from that part of town didn't come to places like Chen's garage. "Put them through." The holographic display flickered to life, showing a young woman with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl, hair that moved like liquid silver, and eyes that were entirely violet, with no visible pupils. She was Celestian, one of the most advanced and reclusive alien species in the known galaxy, and she was absolutely terrified. "Please, you have to help me," she said in accented but perfect English. "I need someone who can work on Celestian technology without reporting it to authorities. Your name came up in certain circles." Danny raised an eyebrow. "Certain circles meaning criminals? Meaning people who value discretion?" She glanced over her shoulder nervously. "I can pay, whatever you want, but I need someone now, tonight." "What kind of tech are we talking about?" She hesitated, then lifted her arm. What Danny had initially thought was an elegant bracelet was actually some kind of restraint, glowing with soft blue light. "It's a royal monitoring device. I need it removed." Every alarm bell in Danny's head started ringing. Royal monitoring devices weren't just jewelry. They were used on high-value targets, prisoners, political hostages. "Who are you?" he asked carefully. The woman's expression was equal parts desperate and defiant. "My name is Lysandra Valcora, and I'm the third princess of the Celestian Empire." She paused. "And I'm trying to escape an arranged marriage that will start a war." Danny should have said no. Should have ended the call right there, deleted the logs and pretended it never happened. Getting involved with alien royalty was the express ticket to prison, or worse. But there was something in her eyes, a determination he recognized, the look of someone who'd rather die than accept a cage. "Where are you?" he heard himself say. 40 minutes later, a sleek luxury transport, flying on automated stealth mode, landed in the alley behind Danny's shop. The rear door hissed open, and Lysandra practically fell out, stumbling in shoes that looked expensive but completely impractical for running. Up close, she was even more striking. Celestians were humanoid but refined to an almost impossible degree of beauty. Her pearl iridescent skin seemed to glow from within, and her silver hair moved independently, responding to her emotions like a living thing. She wore an elaborate gown that probably cost more than Danny's entire shop, and she was bleeding. What the hell happened? Danny caught her as she swayed, noticing the dark blue blood seeping through her dress at her side. "Security forces," she gasped. "They found out I was leaving the compound. There was a fight. My bodyguard. She sacrificed herself so I could escape." Danny helped her into the shop, his mind racing. "Max, seal the doors. Full lockdown. And kill any electronic signatures that could track that transport. On it. Though I should mention we're now harboring a fugitive alien princess. This violates approximately 73 local and intergalactic laws." "Noted." Danny guided Lysandra to his workbench, sweeping tools aside. "Let me see the wound." She shook her head, silver hair writhing with agitation. "The bracelet first. As long as I'm wearing it, they can track me anywhere on the planet." Danny examined the device more closely. It was beautiful in a terrifying way. Intricate crystal formations that grew directly from her skin, pulsing with that same soft blue light. Celestian biotech was leagues beyond human engineering. "This is embedded in your nervous system," he said quietly. If I remove it wrong, I could paralyze your arm or kill you. I know. Her violet eyes met his. But if you don't remove it, my father's soldiers will find me, and they'll drag me back to marry Prince Korvax of the Drakon Empire. Her voice turned bitter. A political alliance sealed with my body and my life. A marriage that will give the Drakons access to Celestian technology, which they'll use to conquer half the sector. Danny had heard rumors about the Drakons. Reptilian warriors with a culture built on conquest and domination. If they got access to Celestian tech, particularly their consciousness transfer technology and genetic engineering, it would shift the balance of power across multiple systems. You really think you can stop a war by running away? He asked. No. Lysandra's smile was sad. But I can delay it. Give the resistance time to gather evidence of my father's corruption. He's not just arranging this marriage, he's selling our people's greatest achievements to warmongers. She touched the bracelet. I'm not a hero. I'm just one princess who refuses to be a bargaining chip. Danny looked at this impossible woman, royal alien completely out of his league in every way, and made another decision he'd probably regret. Max, pull up everything we have on Celestian biotech interfaces. That would be nothing. We've never worked on Celestian technology. Then improvise, cross-reference with similar crystalline neural interfaces. There has to be something. As Max worked, Danny grabbed his medical kit. Let me see that wound first. The bracelet won't matter if you bleed out. Lysandra nodded, allowing him to carefully peel back the damaged part of her dress. The wound wasn't as bad as he'd feared. A grazing shot from an energy weapon that had cauterized as it burned. Still serious, but treatable. This is going to hurt, he warned, prepping antiseptic. I'm a Celestian princess. I was raised to endure pain without flinching. But when he applied the antiseptic, she hissed between her teeth. That's considerably more painful than I anticipated. Yeah, human medicine isn't known for being gentle. Danny worked quickly, his hands steady despite the insanity of the situation. So why me? There have to be better options than a back-alley mechanic. You were recommended by someone who'd know. Lysandra watched him work with those unsettling violet eyes. Captain Reeves of the merchant vessel Stardancer. You repaired her ship's drive core last year when everyone else said it was impossible. Danny remembered that job. The core had been damaged in a pirate attack, components fused together in ways that shouldn't have been fixable. He'd spent 3 days barely sleeping, rebuilding it piece by piece. Reeves said you were brilliant, stubborn, and most importantly, you kept your mouth shut. Lysandra smiled slightly, and that you hated authority figures telling people what they could and couldn't do. She's not wrong about that. Danny finished bandaging the wound. Okay, the bleeding stopped. Now for the hard part. Max had managed to pull together a rough schematic of the bracelet's interface. It was complex. Hundreds of microfilaments connecting to nerve clusters, all powered by Lysandra's own bioelectric field. There's a core node here. Danny pointed to a particular crystal formation. If I can disrupt the connection between the node and these 3 primary filaments, the whole thing should deactivate and be removable. Should? Lysandra repeated. I'm working with incomplete data and tools designed for human technology. Should is the best I can offer. She studied his face for a long moment, then nodded. Do it. Danny gathered his tools, precision laser cutter, neural dampeners, and a lot of hope. As he worked, Lysandra talked, probably to distract herself from the pain. You know what the worst part is? I actually loved my home once. The crystal gardens where I grew up, the archives where I'd study for hours, the view of the twin moons from my tower. What changed? Danny asked, carefully positioning the laser. I grew up, started paying attention to what my father was really doing. The political prisoners disappeared into rehabilitation centers, the way he'd sell Celestian citizens as genetic templates to the highest bidder, how he'd suppress any technology that might give common people power. Her silver hair darkened with emotion. I tried to work within the system, presented evidence to the council. All it got me was this bracelet and a wedding date. Danny fired the laser in a precise burst, severing the first filament. Lysandra tensed, but didn't cry out. And the prince you're supposed to marry? Korvax? He's exactly what you'd expect from Drakon royalty. Brutal, ambitious, sees me as a trophy and a tool. She paused. Though I suppose being married to him wouldn't be the worst part. It's what comes after. The Drakons will use our union to demand access to Celestian tech under the guise of cultural exchange. Within 5 years, they'll have enough to launch a conquest that will devastate dozens of peaceful systems. Second filament severed. 2 more to go. You could just tell people, expose the plan. With what evidence? My father controls all official channels. The resistance has been trying to gather proof for years. Her voice dropped. But they're close. I've been secretly helping them. If I can stay free for just 2 more weeks, they'll have everything they need to present to the Galactic Council. And if your father finds you first, then I become Mrs. Korvax, symbol of an empire built on oppression, and the resistance loses their primary source inside the royal family. She met his eyes. So you see why I'm willing to risk death to get this bracelet off. Danny severed the 3rd filament. One more. Stay still. But just as he positioned the laser for the final cut, alarms blared throughout the shop. We've got incoming, Max announced. Military-grade transports, 3 of them, ETA 2 minutes. Shit, Danny's hand didn't waver. They tracked her somehow. The wound, Lysandra realized. My blood contains trace elements. They must have samples from the compound. They can follow it. Max, activate the shop's defenses. Danny, our defenses consist of a rusty security gate and some angry warning signs. Then get creative. Danny focused everything on the final filament. One wrong move and he could fry Lysandra's entire nervous system. But if he didn't finish, the soldiers would take her. Outside, he heard the whine of transport engines landing, shouted commands in multiple languages. This is Captain Velthar of the Celestian Royal Guard. We know the princess is inside. Release her immediately or face trial for kidnapping a member of the royal family. Almost there, Danny muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. Just need to... The final filament severed with a flash of blue light. The bracelet fell from Lysandra's arm, crystals dissolving into harmless powder. Yes, Danny grabbed her hand. Can you walk? I can run if I have to. Good, because we have to. Max, release the backup power cells. The ones keeping the shop operational, all of them. Create an electromagnetic pulse that'll fry anything electronic within 100 meters. That includes the transport that brought the princess here, and probably half my systems. Do it anyway. Danny pulled Lysandra toward the back of the shop where he kept his personal bike, a modified scrambler that ran on a closed system, shielded against EMPs. He'd built it for exactly this kind of emergency, though he'd never actually thought he'd need it. The shop's front doors exploded inward just as they reached the bike. Celestian soldiers in sleek armor poured through, weapons raised. Max, now! Every power cell in the shop overloaded simultaneously, creating a massive electromagnetic pulse that rippled outward. The soldiers' armor systems flickered and died. Their weapons went dark. Outside, transports crashed to the ground as their anti-grav systems failed. Go, go, go! Danny gunned the bike's engine, Lysandra's arms wrapping around his waist as they shot out the back exit into the rain-soaked alley. Behind them, the soldiers were already recovering, switching to backup systems, but Danny knew these streets better than anyone. He dove into the labyrinth of New Terra's lower district, taking turns at speeds that made Lysandra gasp against his back. Where are we going? She shouted over the wind. Somewhere they'll never think to look, Danny called back. Hold tight. The abandoned factory district on the edge of the city had been Danny's secret refuge since he was a teenager, a maze of crumbling industrial buildings that nobody had bothered to demolish or renovate. Most people avoided it, rumors of gang activity and structural instability, perfect for hiding. Danny guided the bike into a particularly dilapidated building, parking it behind fallen machinery. The rain poured through holes in the roof, creating a constant percussion on metal surfaces. We should be safe here for a few hours, he said, helping Lysandra off the bike. She stumbled slightly, adrenaline wearing off. You okay? That was... She started, then laughed. A surprised, genuine sound. That was the most terrifying and exhilarating experience of my life. Yeah, well, welcome to life on the run. Danny found some relatively dry crates and arranged them as makeshift seating. We need to figure out our next move. Lysandra sank onto a crate, her elaborate gown completely ruined, but her spirits seeming oddly lifted. I can't believe you actually did it. Removed the bracelet and got us away from trained soldiers. I'm just good at my job. Danny checked his communicator. The EMP had fried the civilian networks, but the encrypted underground channels were still active. I've got contacts who can help, people who specialize in getting folks off planet with no questions asked. You'd do that? Help me escape New Terra entirely? Danny met her violet eyes. You said you need 2 weeks for your resistance friends to gather evidence. Can't do that if you're married to a Drakon prince. But this isn't your fight. You've already risked everything helping me. My shop is destroyed. I'm now wanted for harboring a fugitive and assaulting royal guards. Danny shrugged. Might as well see it through. Lysandra studied him for a long moment. Why? Why are you really doing this? Danny was quiet, considering his answer. When I was 15, my parents died because a transport company decided safety regulations were too expensive. Nobody cared. Nobody investigated. Nobody was held accountable. He looked at her. You're trying to stop something similar. People in power hurting innocent people because they can. I couldn't help my parents. But maybe I can help you. Something shifted in Lysandra's expression. You're remarkable, you know that? Most humans I've met are either intimidated by royalty or trying to exploit us. You just see me as a person. That's because royalty is just a title. Doesn't make you any more or less human. Or, Celestian. Danny smiled slightly. Plus, you broke into my shop covered in blood, desperate and willing to trust a complete stranger. Kinda hard not to respect that. Lysandra laughed again, and Danny realized he liked that sound. Is this the part where I'm supposed to swoon over the brave human who rescued me? I'm pretty sure princesses don't swoon, especially not ones who escaped armed guards and ran through the rain in heels. These shoes are torture devices. Lysandra kicked them off. How do human women wear these willingly? Fashion is pain. Fashion is psychological warfare. As they sat in the abandoned factory, rain drumming overhead, something unexpected happened. They talked. Really talked. Not princess to commoner, not alien to human. Just two people who'd had their lives turned upside down in the span of a few hours. Lysandra told him about growing up in the Crystal Palace, about the pressure of being royal, about the moment she realized her father valued power over people. Danny told her about building his shop from nothing, about the satisfaction of fixing things everyone else had given up on, about the loneliness of working alone for years. You know what's funny? Lysandra said after a while. My father arranged dozens of suitors for me over the years, princes, warriors, scholars, all carefully selected to benefit the empire. Her silver hair swirled gently. None of them ever asked what I wanted. None of them saw me as anything but a prize or a tool. What do you want? Danny asked. She was quiet for a moment, her violet eyes reflecting the distant city lights. I want to wake up and not feel like I'm suffocating. I want to make choices that matter, even if they're small. She hesitated. I want to feel like my life belongs to me. Sounds reasonable. It's treason, according to my father. She looked at him. What about you? What do you want? Danny considered that. I want to build something that matters. My shop was great, but it was just fixing things so they could break again. I want to create something that lasts. Like what? Don't know yet, but I figure I'll recognize it when I find it. Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. Lysandra's skin began to glow slightly, a Celestian biological response Danny had read about but never seen. It happened when they felt strong emotions. Your skin is glowing, he said softly. It does that when I'm... She trailed off, then said honestly, attracted to someone. Danny's heart hammered. That's inconvenient timing. Terrible timing, she agreed, but neither of them moved away. We should probably focus on staying alive, Danny said. Absolutely. Survival is priority. And you're a princess, I'm a mechanic. This is a terrible idea on multiple levels. The worst idea possible. Glad we agree. Then they were kissing, and Danny discovered that Celestian skin was warm and soft and tasted like starlight, whatever that meant, because his brain had stopped making sense. Lysandra's silver hair wrapped around them both, and her glow intensified, bathing them in soft pearl light. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Danny couldn't help but laugh. So much for focusing on survival. We can multitask. Lysandra's smile was radiant. Besides, I've been conditioned my entire life to suppress emotions, follow protocols, be the perfect princess. Her fingers traced his jaw. I'm done with that. If I'm going to be a fugitive anyway, I might as well actually live. Fair point. Danny pulled her closer. But we really do need to figure out what's next. My contacts can get us off planet, but we need to stay hidden until then. How long? 2, maybe 3 days. Then we have 2 days. Lysandra's expression turned determined. 2 days to expose my father's crimes, stop this marriage, and maybe save a few star systems from war. No pressure. None at all. She kissed him again, quick and fierce. But first, do you have any food? I haven't eaten since yesterday, and apparently escaping armed guards makes me ravenous. Danny laughed. I've got emergency rations on the bike. They taste like cardboard, but they're nutritious. Perfect. Nothing says romance like cardboard-flavored survival meals in an abandoned factory. Hey, I showed you my secret hideout. This is basically a second date. Lysandra's laughter echoed through the empty building, bright and free and completely unlike any princess Danny had ever imagined. And somewhere in that moment, surrounded by rain and rust and the impossible situation they'd found themselves in, Danny realized he was falling for her. Hard. This was going to be complicated. Day 2 of being fugitives was when things got interesting. Danny had made contact with his underground network, a collection of smugglers, hackers, and people who'd learned not to trust authorities. The plan was simple. Get Lysandra off New Terra, keep her hidden while the resistance gathered their evidence, then bring her back once it was safe to testify. Simple. Except nothing about this situation was simple. "We've got a problem," announced Iris, the AI Danny had liberated from the wreckage of his shop. She was currently running on his bike systems, having merged with its navigation computer. 3 problems, actually. Danny and Lysandra looked up from the makeshift camp they'd set up in the factory. Over the past day, they'd scavenged supplies, set up basic security, and, in moments of downtime, continued what they'd started that first night. "What kind of problems?" Danny asked. "First, the Celestian Royal Guard has issued a system-wide alert. They're checking every transport, every ship, every possible exit route." "Expected," Lysandra said calmly. "What's the second problem?" "The Drakon Empire has sent an envoy. Prince Korvax himself is demanding his bride be returned." Lysandra's skin lost some of its glow. "He's here, on New Terra, landed 4 hours ago with a full honor guard, which is diplomatic speak for heavily armed warriors ready to start shooting." Iris paused. "The third problem is potentially worse." "Worse than all of that?" Danny asked. "There's a resistance operative trying to contact you. Claims she's a friend of the princess." Lysandra stood quickly. "Show me." Iris projected a hologram, a young Celestian woman with short silver hair and tactical gear. "Lys, thank the stars you're alive. Your father announced you were recovering from an illness, but we knew better." "Kessa," Lysandra's relief was obvious. "You're okay. They didn't capture you. Barely escaped, but I've got the evidence we needed." Kessa's expression was grim. "Full documentation of your father's deals with the Drakons. Proof of the weapons development. Everything." She paused. "But we have a problem. The data is in encrypted Celestian format. Only someone with royal biosignature can unlock and transmit it." "Meaning me," Lysandra said. "Meaning you. We need you to come to the Resistance safe house, authorize the upload, and then we can blast it to every news network and galactic authority simultaneously." Danny immediately felt uneasy. "Where's this safe house?" Kessa provided coordinates, a location in the industrial sector, about 10 miles from their current position. "Could be a trap," Danny said quietly to Lysandra. "Kessa's been my friend since childhood. She wouldn't betray me." "People change when enough pressure's applied or when enough money's offered." Lysandra looked at him, then at the hologram of her friend. "Kessa, how do I know this is really you?" "Because I know about the time we snuck into the archives, and you accidentally activated the historical battle simulation, and we spent 3 hours hiding from virtual warriors." Kessa smiled slightly. "And I know you used to dream about running away to explore the galaxy. Looks like you finally did it." Lysandra's expression softened. "It's really her." "Then we go," Danny said, though his instincts were still screaming warnings. "But we go careful. Iris, map out 3 different routes. I want backup plans for our backup plans." The industrial sector was exactly as depressing as Danny remembered. Rows of manufacturing plants, most automated, few humans or aliens actually working there. Perfect for a clandestine meeting. They approached the designated warehouse cautiously, Danny's hand never far from the plasma pistol he'd retrieved from his shop's wreckage. Lysandra walked beside him, her skin barely glowing, tension evident in every line of her body. "Something feels wrong," she whispered. "Yeah." Danny's instincts were on fire. "But we need that evidence." The warehouse door was unlocked. Inside, dim lighting revealed stacks of shipping containers and abandoned equipment. And standing in the center, waiting, was Kessa, alone. "Lys!" Kessa ran forward, embracing the princess. "I was so worried." "Where's the rest of the resistance?" Lysandra asked, pulling back slightly. "Scattered. We lost 3 members in raids yesterday. I'm one of the few who still has freedom of movement." Kessa pulled out a data crystal that pulsed with soft light. "But I have everything. All the proof we need." She held it out to Lysandra, who reached for it, and Danny saw it. The slight hesitation in Kessa's eyes, the way her hand trembled almost imperceptibly, the barely visible earpiece in her left ear. "Don't touch it!" Danny grabbed Lysandra's wrist, pulling her back. Everything happened at once. Kessa's expression turned anguished. "I'm sorry, Liz. They have my family. If I didn't—" The warehouse erupted with soldiers, Celestian Royal Guard pouring from behind containers, weapons raised, and walking through them like death incarnate was a massive reptilian figure in ornate armor, Prince Korvax. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in iridescent scales that shifted from emerald to black. His eyes were golden slits, and when he smiled, it revealed rows of sharp teeth. "My bride," he said in a voice like grinding stone, "you've led us on quite the chase." Lysandra's skin flared with light, her silver hair whipping around her in agitation. "I am not your bride. Your father and I have a contract, sealed in blood and law." Korvax gestured, and soldiers moved to surround them. "Come peacefully and your human pet lives. Resist and I'll mount his head in our wedding chamber." "Creative," Danny said, his mind racing through scenarios. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and trapped. "But I've got a counteroffer." "Oh?" Korvax's amusement was evident. "A monkey wishes to bargain?" Danny's hand moved to the detonator in his pocket, one he'd built while Lysandra slept, because paranoia was keeping them alive. "That data crystal Kessa's holding. It's currently broadcasting everything in a 5-mile radius to my shop's backup servers, which means every word you just said, including that charming contract sealed in blood comment, is being recorded." The prince's expression darkened. "Bluffing. Iris, activate Protocol Omega." "With pleasure," the AI's voice echoed through the warehouse. And suddenly, holographic screens appeared everywhere, displaying Korvax's image, playing back his words, streaming to every public channel in the sector. The prince lunged forward with inhuman speed, but Danny was already moving, pulling Lysandra toward a service exit he'd identified earlier. Plasma bolts seared the air where they'd been standing. "The data!" Lysandra shouted. "We need the real evidence!" "Already got it!" Kessa threw the crystal toward them, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry, they have my daughter." Danny caught the crystal, grabbed Lysandra, and ran. Behind them, chaos erupted as the soldiers tried to shut down the broadcast. But Iris was already 3 steps ahead, routing it through dozens of relay points, making it impossible to stop. They burst out of the warehouse into the rain, Danny's bike waiting where he'd hidden it. But between them and escape stood a wall of Celestian Royal Guards, weapons leveled. And at their center, Lysandra's father, Emperor Valcora himself. The Emperor was everything Danny expected, imposing, ancient-looking despite his ageless Celestian features, wearing robes that seemed to be woven from light itself. His presence was commanding, absolute. "Daughter," he said, his voice carrying effortless authority, "this foolishness ends now." Lysandra's glow intensified, her entire body radiating defiance. "No, father, your tyranny ends now." She held up the data crystal, and her skin began to pulse with rhythmic light, some kind of Celestian ability Danny had never seen. The crystal responded, projecting information into the air, contracts with the Drakons, weapons development plans, lists of political prisoners, financial records showing bribes and blackmail, everything. "That data is classified," the Emperor thundered. "It's evidence of treason against our own people," Lysandra shot back. "You've sold our technology, our culture, our citizens to warmongers and criminals, all for power." The Emperor's composure cracked for the first time. "You understand nothing of ruling, of the compromises necessary to keep our empire safe." "Safe?" Lysandra laughed bitterly. "You've made us complicit in atrocities. How many systems will burn because you gave the Drakons our weapons technology? How many lives will be destroyed?" Danny watched the soldiers around them, seeing uncertainty on their faces. They were hearing this for the first time, seeing the evidence laid bare. "And this human?" The Emperor gestured dismissively at Danny. "You'd throw away your birthright for an inferior species?" "Danny's worth 10 of you," Lysandra said fiercely. "He risked everything to help me. Not because I'm a princess, but because it was right. That's more honor than you've shown in decades." The Emperor's expression turned cold. "Guards, seize them both." Nobody moved. "I said seize them." One of the guards, a grizzled veteran, lowered his weapon. "Forgive me, Emperor, but if these accusations are true, we swore an oath to protect Celestia, not to enable its destruction." Other guards followed suit, stepping back, creating a path. The Emperor looked around in disbelief. "You dare defy me?" "We dare to choose honor," another guard said quietly. Prince Korvax, who'd emerged from the warehouse, snarled in frustration. "Weak, all of you. The Drakon Empire does not tolerate such—" "The Drakon Empire is currently explaining to the Galactic Council why they were conspiring to acquire weapons technology through illegal means, Iris announced cheerfully. The broadcast reached intergalactic channels. You're all very famous now. Danny took Lysandra's hand. We're leaving. Anyone who wants to stop us can try. For a tense moment, no one moved. Then the guards parted further, creating a clear path to the bike. As Danny and Lysandra walked toward it, the Emperor called out one last time, "You're no daughter of mine." Lysandra stopped, turned back. "Good, because you're no father of mine. Not anymore." They reached the bike, Danny starting the engine while Lysandra climbed on behind him. "Where do we go now?" she asked, wrapping her arms around his waist. "Away from here. Far away." Danny grinned. "I hear the outer colonies are nice this time of year." "Danny, yeah? Thank you. For everything." He looked back at her, this impossible princess who'd crashed into his life and turned it upside down. "Thank you for trusting me. Always." As they rode off into the rain, leaving behind emperors and princes and empires, Danny realized something important. He'd spent years fixing things, broken machines, damaged ships, systems that everyone else had given up on. But Lysandra wasn't broken. She never had been. She'd just been trapped, and all she'd needed was someone willing to help her break free. 6 months later, the colony ship Wanderer's Rest floated in orbit around a newly terraformed planet on the edge of explored space. It served as a mobile hub for settlers, traders, and anyone looking to start fresh where the old empires couldn't reach. Danny's new shop, Morrison's Mobile Repair, occupied an entire deck of the ship. It was 3 times the size of his old place, with state-of-the-art equipment, proper ventilation, and even a break room. The credits from selling exclusive rights to their story, The Princess and the Mechanic, had been more than enough to set them up comfortably. Though comfortably was relative when you were in a relationship with a fugitive princess turned galactic whistleblower. "Danny, you've got a customer," Iris announced. The AI now ran the shop's entire infrastructure from a custom server Danny had built. "And she's asking specifically for you." Danny looked up from the plasma converter he was rebuilding. "Tell her I'll be there in 5. "She's already here," said a familiar, melodious voice. Lysandra stood in the doorway, her silver hair tied back practically, wearing work clothes that had seen actual work. Over the past 6 months, she'd transformed from pampered princess to, well, she was still figuring out what she wanted to be. Currently, she was apprenticing with Danny, learning mechanics and engineering with the same intensity she'd once applied to royal studies. "I thought you were meeting with the resistance leaders," Danny asked, wiping his hands. "I was. Meeting's over." Her expression was complex, proud and worried at once. "The Galactic Council has officially charged my father with corruption and illegal weapons trading. He's been removed from power pending trial." Danny set down his tools, giving her his full attention. "That's what you wanted, right?" "Yes, but it's also—" She paused, searching for words. "He's still my father. Even after everything, part of me hoped he'd change. Admit he was wrong." Danny crossed the shop, pulling her into his arms. One of the things he'd learned about Celestians, they ran hot and cold emotionally, all or nothing. Lysandra had spent months learning it was okay to feel conflicted, to not have perfect answers. "He made his choices," Danny said gently. "You made yours. You saved a lot of lives by exposing him." "I know." She pressed her face against his chest. "Doesn't make it easier." They stood like that for a moment, her skin glowing softly, something that happened whenever she felt safe, loved, content. Danny had learned to read her bioluminescence like a mood ring. "There's more," she said, pulling back slightly. "The council wants me to testify in person on Celestia Prime." Danny's stomach dropped. "That's dangerous, yes. My father still has loyalists, and Prince Korvax has put a bounty on my head, claims I dishonored him by breaking our sacred betrothal." She smiled wryly. "Apparently fleeing an arranged marriage to expose your fiancé's war crimes is considered rude in Drakon culture. When do you have to go?" 2 weeks. The trial starts in 3 weeks, and I need prep time with the prosecution." She took his hands. "Danny, I can't ask you to come with me. This is my fight, my—" "Stop!" Danny squeezed her hands. "You're not asking. I'm volunteering. Where you go, I go. It could get us both killed. Could have gotten us killed 6 months ago. Didn't stop us then." Lysandra's laugh was half sob. "You're impossible. You say that like it's a bad thing." Danny kissed her forehead. "Besides, I've always wanted to see the Crystal Palace. Here it's very pretty." "It is beautiful," she admitted, "though I suspect we won't be getting the tourist tour." "Probably not." Danny pulled her toward the break room. "Come on, Let's have lunch and plan how to not die. Most romantic lunch date ever. Hey, I promised you adventure. Can't complain about truth in advertising. Over the next 2 weeks they prepared. Danny reached out to every contact in his network, gathering intel on Celestia Prime's current political situation. Iris coordinated with the resistance movement, establishing safe houses and escape routes. Lysandra practiced her testimony until she could recite it in her sleep, and in quiet moments, usually late at night in their shared quarters, they talked about the future. What happens after the trial? Danny asked one evening, lying in bed with Lysandra curled against his side, her skin providing a soft nightlight. If we survive? The Council has offered me a position. Official liaison between Celestia and human colonies. She traced patterns on his chest. Apparently, my unique perspective on interspecies cooperation makes me qualified. Fancy title for the princess who ran away with a human. I prefer to think of it as the princess who chose her own destiny. She propped herself up on one elbow. But it would mean staying in one place. Regular hours. Boring diplomatic functions. Sounds awful, Danny said with mock seriousness. I know. I'd have to wear actual formal clothes, make small talk with bureaucrats, probably can't threaten anyone with violence. She sighed dramatically. Where's the adventure in that? Danny smiled, pulling her closer. But you'd be helping shape policy, making sure what your father did never happens again, protecting people. I suppose. She was quiet for a moment. Would you be okay with that? Settling down? You've spent your whole life moving, staying independent. Lys. He waited until she met his eyes. I don't care if we're running through the galaxy or attending boring diplomatic dinners. As long as we're together, I'm good. Her glow intensified, turning the room brilliant pearl white. That's disgustingly romantic. I have my moments. Danny, her voice turned serious, when we go to Celestia, there's a chance my father will try something. He's desperate, cornered, dangerous. I know. And even if the trial goes perfectly, there will always be people who hate me. For what I did, for being with you, for... Danny silenced her with a kiss. When he pulled back, he said firmly, I know all that, and I'm still coming. Stop trying to protect me. Someone has to. You're terrible at self-preservation, says the princess who hired a back-alley mechanic to remove a neural tracking device. That was calculated risk. That was insanity. Lucky for both of us, insanity worked out. Lysandra laughed, the sound bright and free. 6 months ago, she'd been trapped, suffocating under the weight of duty and expectations. Now, even facing a dangerous trial and uncertain future, she was more alive than she'd ever been. I love you, she said suddenly. I know I don't say it enough. My people aren't. We don't express emotions easily. But I need you to know, whatever happens on Celestia, whatever comes next, I love you. Danny felt his chest tighten with emotion. I love you too. More than I thought I could love anything. They held each other in the soft glow of her skin, two people from different worlds who'd found something neither expected. Home. The journey to Celestia Prime took 3 days via commercial transport. Danny and Lysandra traveled under false identities. He was a merchant ship captain. She was his Celestian business partner. Iris was uploaded to a portable data core disguised as luggage. This is the worst disguise ever, Lysandra muttered, adjusting the holographic projector that altered her appearance. Instead of her distinctive silver hair and pearl skin, she appeared as a common Celestian with bronze skin and black hair. I looked like my cousin Velshara, the one who tried to sabotage your transport when you were 12, Danny asked, remembering the story. The very same, which means anyone who actually knows me will immediately realize something's wrong. Good thing we're avoiding anyone who knows you. They disembarked at Celestia Prime's main spaceport without incident, blending into the crowds of travelers and merchants. The planet was everything Lysandra had described, impossibly beautiful, with crystalline architecture that caught and refracted light in breathtaking patterns. The cities looked like they were grown rather than built, organic structures that seemed alive. It's gorgeous, Danny admitted, staring up at towers that spiraled toward purple skies. Wait until you see the crystal gardens at sunset. It's... Lysandra's voice caught. I used to go there when I needed to think. Before everything fell apart. Danny squeezed her hand. Maybe we can go there again after the trial. Maybe. Their first contact was with Kessa, Lysandra's friend, who'd been forced to betray them. She met them at a safe house in the lower districts. Her expression haunted. Lys, I'm so sorry, she started, but Lysandra pulled her into a fierce hug. You were protecting your daughter. I understand. Kessa's relief was palpable. They released her after you exposed the Emperor. She's safe now with my sister on a colony world. She stepped back, becoming businesslike. But we have problems. Your father's loyalists are desperate. There have been 3 assassination attempts on witnesses in the past week. Successful? Danny asked. 2. One witness is in protective custody with severe injuries. Kessa's expression was grim. They're playing for keeps. If they can't stop the trial, they'll make sure there's no one left to testify. Then we make sure Liz is protected, Danny said firmly. The council has assigned security, but... Kessa hesitated. Your father still has influence. Guards who are loyal to the old ways. We can't trust anyone official. Then we rely on the resistance, Lysandra decided. People who've actually fought against my father's corruption. People who have something to lose if he walks free. Over the next week they built a network. Resistance fighters, former political prisoners, even some of the royal guards who'd defected after seeing the evidence. Danny coordinated security with the methodical precision he'd used, fixing complex machinery, identifying weak points, creating redundancies, planning for every possible failure. Lysandra prepared her testimony, working with prosecutors who were equal parts impressed by her courage and terrified of the political implications. She wasn't just testifying against her father, she was testifying against an entire system of power that had existed for centuries. They want me to soften my language, she told Danny one night, frustrated. Make it less about systemic corruption and more about unfortunate individual choices. And you told them that they could prosecute the Emperor without me if they wanted to lie. But if they want the truth, they get all of it. Her skin flashed with anger. I didn't risk everything to just replace my father with someone who'll do the same things more quietly. That's my girl. Danny kissed her temple. Burn it all down. I intend to. The night before the trial, Danny couldn't sleep. He stood on the balcony of their safe house, staring out at the glowing city below. The Crystal Palace dominated the skyline, an impossibly massive structure that looked like a frozen aurora borealis. Somewhere in there, Lysandra's father was being held under house arrest. Tomorrow they'd face each other in court, father and daughter, emperor and rebel. Can't sleep, Lysandra joined him, wrapped in a robe, her natural glow providing soft illumination. Nervous, Danny admitted. This is bigger than anything I've ever been part of. You're literally changing the course of galactic politics. We're changing it, she corrected. None of this happens without you. I just removed a bracelet and drove a bike. You gave me hope. She took his hand, her skin warm against his. Before you, I thought I had no choice. That duty and destiny were the same thing. You showed me I could choose. Danny pulled her close. What happens after tomorrow? Best case scenario, your father goes to prison, the Empire reforms, you get your diplomatic position. Then what? Then we figure out what normal looks like, she smiled. Maybe buy a house, adopt a pet. Have incredibly boring conversations about dinner plans. Sounds perfect. Danny, her voice turned serious, if something goes wrong tomorrow, if they get to me, they won't. But if they do, promise me you'll keep fighting. Keep exposing corruption, helping people who can't help themselves. You're good at that. Lys, promise me. Danny looked into her violet eyes, seeing the determination there. The same determination that had made her walk into a stranger's shop and trust him with everything. I promise, but it won't come to that. No, she agreed, her glow intensifying with conviction. It won't, because we're going to walk into that courtroom tomorrow, tell the truth, and change everything. Together? Always together. They stood on the balcony until dawn, watching the city wake up, preparing for the most important day of their lives. The courtroom was massive, a circular chamber with crystalline walls that amplified sound perfectly. Hundreds of observers filled the galleries, journalists, diplomats, citizens who'd traveled from across the empire to witness history. At the center, Emperor Valcora sat in the defendant's chair, looking smaller than Danny remembered. Stripped of his ceremonial robes and authority, he was just an old Celestian who'd made terrible choices. Lysandra took the witness stand, her disguise removed, appearing as herself for the first time in weeks. Her silver hair caught the light, her skin glowed with nervous energy, and her violet eyes were steady as she faced her father. The prosecutor, a stern Celestian woman named Telvara, began the questioning. Princess Lysandra, please state for the record your relationship to the defendant. He is my father, Emperor Valcora of Celestia. Her voice carried clearly through the chamber. And you're testifying against him today. Why? Lysandra took a breath. Because what he did was wrong. Not just legally wrong, but morally wrong. He sold our technology to warmongers. He imprisoned people who disagreed with him. He arranged my marriage to a tyrant to secure power. She looked directly at her father. And when I tried to stop him, he tried to have me captured and silenced. The testimony went on for hours. Lysandra presented evidence, answered questions, remained calm even when her father's defense attorneys tried to rattle her. Danny watched from the gallery, his heart pounding, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. Finally, the prosecutor asked her last question. "Princess, what do you hope to achieve by testifying today?" Lysandra was quiet for a moment. "I hope that no one else has to choose between their family and doing what's right. I hope that future generations of Celestians can be proud of our empire again. And I hope," she glanced at Danny, "I hope that we can build a future where power is used to protect people, not control them." The defense attorney stood. "And you expect us to believe this isn't motivated by your relationship with a human? That you're not simply rebelling because your father disapproved of your choices?" "My relationship with Danny opened my eyes," Lysandra said clearly. "But what I saw was always there. I just stopped making excuses for it." The trial continued for 2 more days. Other witnesses testified. Evidence was presented. The defense argued that the emperor had acted in Celestia's best interests, that security sometimes required moral compromises. But the evidence was overwhelming, and on the 3rd day, the council rendered their verdict. "Emperor Valcora, you are found guilty of corruption, illegal weapons trading, and crimes against your own people. You are hereby stripped of your title and sentenced to 20 years imprisonment." The courtroom erupted in noise, some cheering, some protesting. Danny watched Lysandra's face, seeing the complex emotions play across her features. Relief, sadness, victory, grief. Her father was led away without looking at her. 2 months later. "Careful with that," Danny called out, as movers transported the last of their belongings into the new house. It was modest by Celestian standards, a small dwelling on the outskirts of the capital city, with a workshop for Danny and a garden for Lysandra. "I'm being careful," Lysandra protested, carrying a box marked "Fragile Danny's Tools" with exaggerated caution. "See, delicate handling." "You're mocking me." "I would never." But her grin gave her away. Iris's voice came from the house's integrated systems. Danny had spent 2 weeks installing her into every available interface. "I hate to interrupt domestic bliss, but you have a visitor." Danny and Lysandra exchanged glances. They weren't expecting anyone. A figure appeared at the garden gate, an elderly Celestian woman with white hair and kind eyes. She moved slowly, leaning on a walking stick, but her presence was commanding. "Elder Yara." Lysandra rushed forward, recognition and surprise evident. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see the princess who changed everything." Elder Yara smiled warmly. "And to meet the human who helped her do it." They invited her inside, serving tea in their half-unpacked kitchen. Elder Yara had been on the council for decades, one of the few members who'd supported Lysandra's testimony from the beginning. "I wanted to tell you," the elder said, "that the council has been implementing reforms, transparency measures, restrictions on royal power. It's slow work, but it's happening." She looked at Lysandra. "Because you had the courage to speak truth." "I just did what was necessary," Lysandra said quietly. "No, child, you did what was right. There's a difference." Elder Yara sipped her tea. "Your father sent a message, by the way, through official channels." Lysandra tensed. "What did he say?" "That he's proud of you and that he's sorry." The elder's expression was gentle. "I don't know if he truly means it, but I thought you should know." After Elder Yara left, Danny found Lysandra in their half-finished garden, staring up at the stars. "You okay?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I don't know. Part of me wants to believe he's changed. Part of me knows it doesn't matter. The damage is done." She leaned back against him. "Is it wrong that I still love him, even after everything?" "No, he's your father. Love doesn't just stop because someone hurts you. Humans are very wise sometimes." "Only sometimes," she laughed, turning in his arms. "Danny Chen, mechanic hero and apparently philosopher. Don't forget boyfriend of a diplomat. That's my most important title." "Boyfriend?" Lysandra raised an eyebrow. "Is that what we're calling it? What would you prefer? Partner, significant other, that guy who removed your tracking bracelet and accidentally started a revolution? How about—" She pulled a small box from her pocket. "Husband." Danny's brain stuttered to a halt. Inside the box was a ring, but not a human ring. It was made of living crystal that pulsed with soft light, grown specifically for bonding ceremonies. Liz, are you asking you to marry me? Yes. Her skin glowed brilliantly. I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 8 months. I know there are 1,000 logical reasons to wait. But Danny, you're my home, the only place I've ever truly felt free, and I don't want to wait anymore. Danny looked at this impossible woman, this princess who'd crash-landed into his life and changed everything, who'd taught him that sometimes the craziest decisions were the right ones. Yes, he said, pulling her into a kiss. Absolutely yes. Her laughter was bright and joyous. Really? You don't need to think about it? I've been thinking about it since that first night in the abandoned factory, when you ate cardboard rations and laughed about it. When you were scared and brave and perfect. I'm not perfect. You're perfect for me. They held each other as the stars came out above them. 2 people from different worlds who'd built something impossible, a future together, on their own terms, free from empires and expectations. So, Danny said after a while, do I get a fancy title now? Prince Consort? Royal Husband? How about Danny? I like that one. Danny works, though I'm disappointed there's no crown involved. I'll get you a crown, a ridiculous one with too many jewels. Now you're talking. Lysandra pulled back to look at him seriously. This life we're building, it won't always be easy. There will still be people who disapprove, who think a princess shouldn't marry a human mechanic. Let them disapprove. We didn't change an empire just to care about gossip. We really did change an empire, didn't we? Wonder filled her voice. You changed an empire. I just drove the getaway bike. You did much more than that. She kissed him softly. You gave a trapped princess a way out, and then you showed her that freedom was just the beginning. Danny smiled, pulling her close again. So, what's next? For us? Everything, Lysandra said simply. We have the rest of our lives to figure it out. Sounds like an adventure. The best kind. And there in their garden under alien stars, the mechanic and the princess planned their impossible future, one filled with love, choice, and the kind of freedom they'd both fought so hard to win.